Sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that gets inside the trillion-dollar business of sports marketing, deal making, everything that goes on in a really, really crowded week. If you wanted to look at all 15 items, plus 5 tech, plus 5 power of sports philanthropic issues at Rick Horrow, rickhorrow.com, CSN Washington, NBCWashington.com. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcast and iTunes feed. Look for us on Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom, or wherever fine content is, you will certainly find us. This week is a big week. Let's start with, some would say, the biggest issue of July 4th weekend. Barbecue, apple pie, fireworks, and Nathan's famous 4th of July International Hot Dog Eating Contest. Runs live on July 4, ESPN2. 1-hour telecast marks the 16th consecutive year ESPN televised the event. The Women's Championship beginning at 10:45 on ESPN3, streaming live on the ESPN app. Adam Amon will do play-by-play of the eating competition, in addition to the live event on ESPN2. An ESPN3 camera focused on Joey Chestnut in the men's competition. Chestnut attempts to break his world record, 74 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. Enjoy America's favorite summer holiday, the hot dog eating contest. Well, in all seriousness, it is baseball time as well. And when you focus on that, it's time for Major League Baseball's All-Star Game in Cleveland, the activation of significant sponsor brands. Bank of America, Taco Bell hit it out of the park. MLB's partnership with MasterCard, Budweiser, and many other signature brands have spanned decades. And by applying creative thinking and the latest technologies, these companies and their agency partners have been able to keep the campaigns fresh and exciting for fans after many years. In a similar environment, the Yankees and Red Sox met twice at London Stadium this last weekend. In the face of high-scoring shootouts, London's competitive highlight was undoubtedly the mascot race between Freddie Mercury, Winston Churchill, King Henry, and the Loch Ness Monster. Wow, that is not miss television. When you think of some of the other issues, by the way, let's look at minor league baseball. Ronald McDonald House Charities, the title sponsor of this year's AAA All-Star Game. The annual game, the AAA Pacific Coast and International Leagues compete, scheduled for July 10 at Southwest University Park in El Paso. Telecast on the MLB Network. The deal includes advertising inventory on MLB Network, logos on player uniforms, static signage within the ballpark. Social and digital media also support the event. Agency Forefront worked with host El Paso Chihuahuas to secure the sponsorship. Huntington Bank and Gildan were presenting sponsors of last year's AAA All-Star Game in Columbus. The return on investment for minor league baseball sponsors, both at their mega events and regular season games, continues to grow. And a tribute to celebrating minor league baseball in all contexts. Our interview this week was taken from the archives, but not distant archives, recent archives. Ken Babby. His father, Lon, was an agent of significant repute, Grant Hill and others, and one of the first guys at Williams and Connolly to charge athletes on an hourly basis. Some would say revolutionize the business. This guy is a chip off the old block, but has created his own independent path. He owns, get this, in Akron, Ohio, the Akron Rubber Ducks. And how about this? He bought Jacksonville's team and changed the name of the Jacksonville Suns to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. We all understand how important logos are in minor league baseball. Here's a guy who gets it in a number of contexts. Ken Babby. Sports professor Rick Horrow, beyond the boardroom, inside the numbers. And no, I'm not an audition, and I'm not singing, but the music you hear in the background is the fun and sun capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's the Major League, Minor League joint baseball meetings. Minor League Baseball, a significant role in these, but the big story always here is Harper, Machado, who do they sign with? What are some of the fundamental issues in Major League Baseball? That's not the story. The story is the prolific growth of minor league baseball as well, and some of the folks that transcend both major and minor. Someone who has the potential to and does as well. Ken Babby, owner of Jacksonville, owner of Akron, and a rising star in minor league baseball. He'll tell you more. Hey, Ken.
Hey,
how you doing?
Great to be here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You picked, apparently, the music for us, so thank you. You're going to sing a little bit for us?
We are all about fun, so it seems very appropriate to be rocking out the techno music here at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we're all about fun, which means you stay quiet and you deal with the business issues and stop singing. So first of all, the Babby family has some significant sports business ties as well. Your dad, Lon, Williams and Connolly guy. Talk about the family generally and how we got here.
I was incredibly fortunate. I grew up in a family that was completely devoted to the world of sports. My parents were sort of shuttling me and my sister back and forth between little league practices and baseball and basketball. But I was also really lucky that my dad worked in the business, and so I had an opportunity to see the business through a different set of lens that most people don't get a chance to do that. He was the general counsel of the Baltimore Orioles, and before that, general counsel of the Redskins, longtime agent in the NBA representing players, and just recently retired after a stint as president of basketball operations with the Phoenix Suns. So, for me, getting a chance to see the sporting world from an inside-out perspective was incredibly fortunate.
Well, and it's entrepreneurial, and I'm sure your Thanksgiving and Christmas conversations were pretty significant. You could have taped them and had a primer on how sports business is done.
I've learned everything that I know from my dad. That's his honest-to-God truth. We see the game a little bit differently, and I'll explain what I mean. My dad loves the on-court game, the on-field game, and certainly I'm a baseball fan, tried and true, but I have a deeper passion for what happens outside the lines. The fan experience, the food in the ballpark, the promotions, the fireworks, all the sort of sizzle that I think we talk about what makes minor league baseball so special. And growing up in ballparks, being at Camden Yards with him after it opened, he's watching on the field the 1992 Orioles, which were nothing too much to remember, and I was looking around seeing which local companies had signage in the ballpark and wondering what the food prices were. So
well, and the irony of that is interesting. We'll get back to minor league baseball in your career also, but one more thing about your dad, who I respect more than anybody else in this world. People who remember the kind of percentage pieces of traditional agents' compensation will respect the fact that your dad basically broke the mold. And talk about that for a second.
So, it kind of comes full circle. He's leaving Oriole Park at Camden Yards after Williams had sold the team. He's literally walking out of the warehouse offices on Utah Street, and longtime Baltimore Orioles advisor and former NFL running back Calvin Hill comes up to him and says, "Hey, Lon, I could use some help. My son is graduating Duke and entering the NBA, and he needs some help negotiating a shoe deal." They were working with Feel at the time, and my dad said, "I'd be happy to help. I'm not an agent. I'm not going to take 20% on a Nike deal like other agents might have." And he took a very different approach to it and said, "Look, I'll bill you by the hour, the way an ordinary lawyer is done," and ended up being an agent successfully in the NBA for 25 years. Tim Duncan, Grant Hill, and Ray Allen and others, and I think that model has transcended the industry.
And transcended the industry and earned the universal disrespect of all of the flaky agents who basically did nothing for a percentage.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's right. Value, right?
Yeah. Yeah, value, exactly. So you're out of school, you always want to get into baseball, but you took a fairly circuitous route at the Washington Post. Talk about that.
So, what I really wanted to do was work in baseball right out of college, and thanks to my dad's connections, I wrote and emailed and called just about everybody we knew in the business, and pretty much nobody responded. And the reality is, and for folks that are listening, and I say this all the time to people that have an interest in getting into sports, there's such volume of people who want to do it that really have no experience out of school to enter the business, and it's very challenging. The best advice I received was from our family friend and a guy you know well, Larry Lucchino, who at the time was running the Red Sox in Boston.
Who we've had on the show.
That's right. Yeah. And I was at Wheaton College just down the road in Massachusetts and had lunch with him, and he said the best thing you can do is actually get a job outside of sports, learn some set of experiences outside of the industry, and bring them back some point later in your career. And so I got a job working at the Washington Post, my hometown newspaper, had a technology background. I was supporting our production system. My first job was night shift, working from 6 p.m. till 3 in the morning, and was fortunate enough to take on a number of different roles with increasing responsibility at the Post, and eventually left there as Chief Revenue Officer and Head of Digital in 2012.
2012, and then the last few years, then get into baseball. Talk about the teams you've got.
Well, that's where I lost all my hair, right? You know, turns out these weather situations in the middle of July can get pretty stressful.
And by the way, the guy used to be 6'4", and
that's
now
right,
he's well under 6'4".
Exactly, and very bald. So, you know, my passion was deeply to move into sports. I knew in my heart that getting a role in a sports organization would be a challenge, but I didn't know exactly what the right fit was be. And so I was incredibly fortunate that my family supported me to get out and invest in a business. And we bought the Akron Club. At the time it was the Akron Arrows, just south of Cleveland on 77. And Akron's a great community, rubber city capital of the world, Goodyear, Firestone, B.F. Goodrich, great history there. Of course, LeBron James, everybody knows that. And over the course of the last 7 years, alongside Jim Fander, our incredible GM, and our staff there, we've rebranded, reimagined minor league baseball as the Akron Rubber Ducks in that community. Proud AA affiliate of the Cleveland Indians, and have been fortunate for their success just up the road from us. And so I think we've been very fortunate, and along the way picked up a second team in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, as they've since been rebranded, AA affiliate of the Marlins, and having great fun in Jacksonville with our staff down there as well.
So I just want everybody to understand that here is the next great extension of the Babby family. Father, serious, represent all that's right in a serious study of law. He's got the Rubber Ducks and the Jumbo Shrimp, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Did you pick those names sober, or how did you do them?
So there's a great firm that I think folks in minor league baseball know well, and I think the world beyond minor league baseball will soon learn, named Brandios. And Brandios has had great success going around the country, spending time in communities and developing identities, like the Richmond Flying Squirrels, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
Did they do the Chihuahuas in El Paso?
They did. Yeah. So, you know, you hear these great stories, but it's not as if they're sitting back at their offices in San Diego saying, you know what would be funny, the Jumbo Shrimp. We spent a lot of time in the community understanding the military, the fact that the rivers and ocean run through the city. Jacksonville, believe it or not, is the largest city in the U.S. in terms of land mass, 840 square miles, but is actually a very, very small town where everybody knows each other. So hence Jumbo and Shrimp, right? So to get into this play on military and water, red, white, and blue colors, and so Brandios did a brilliant job for us, and fortunate to know him.
And you, as an entrepreneur, understand that if you were called the Panthers or the Wildcats or the Tigers, nobody would have wanted to hear that story you just told.
That's right. And I think, you know, tying the brand to the community and making it fun, and something that, you know, you probably would never name a major league team the Rubber Ducks or the Jumbo Shrimp.
Right.
But this is minor league baseball, $5 tickets, $2 hot dogs. We're trying to have fun and attract local community. So
Pat O'Connor runs minor league baseball. I've got a copy of his opening script that he's starting this conference with. 6,200 games a year and 40 million fans. That's not the story. The story is the brand, what you do with it. So talk a little bit about your perspective of minor league baseball, and obviously the number one choice by 2.5 times the number 2 property as the most fan-friendly entity by Sports Business Journal. Talk a little bit about that.
It's an incredible honor to continue to, I think, the 4th year in a row that's happened in terms of great, you know, family fun. You know, minor league baseball has a very unique place, I think, in the sports landscape, because truly these are community teams. There's 160 teams out there in the U.S. in markets where minor league baseball is the biggest thing going on that night. They don't have the luxury of Major League Baseball. They may not have other sports options going on. And so I can speak particularly about Akron in this example. On a Friday night in Akron, Ohio, and, you know, Northeast Ohio is gorgeous in the summertime, maybe not in the middle of January or February. Getting down to an Akron Rubber Duck game is the highlight of that community's week. And so the promotions, the fireworks, the fun, the celebrities, the business community all has suites on our 25 suite level, where the CEOs are hobnobbing and connecting on the week's events, and the mayor's kind of holding court in the suite concourse talking to everybody. It really is Main Street USA at its best. And so minor league baseball, I think, has established itself as a business-to-business place where work gets done. And then on the ground floor, where the real magic happens, it brings community together at this beautiful intersection of both baseball and fun.
So you, because of your connections and because of your experience in history, had the ability to get involved in any kind of baseball you set your mind to. You're the kind of guy that if you say X, you're going to get it done.
Thank you.
So I guess why minor league baseball versus major league or other opportunities?
So minor league baseball was a fortuitous path, and I think a wonderful proving ground to learn.
Yeah.
I never say never when it comes to major league baseball because opportunities present themselves, and I'm still a huge Baltimore Oriole fan and watch just about every game. Once our minor league games are done for the night, I'll go back.
You still do?
I still do.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the main reason why he's as short as he is today.
That's right, exactly. That's right. Yeah, we had a tough year, but look, I think there's a deep passion for the game. I'm really excited about the direction baseball is going in overall. I mean, I'd put my table stakes down strong in baseball. I think we've got a lot of work to do on the youth side of the business, but youth baseball percentage registration was up 10% last year. No other sport can claim growth like that, even soccer. So I'm very excited about the direction our game is going in this next generation of fans.
And the beauty of what you just said is you didn't distinguish in that answer between minor league and major league, but baseball generally.
That's right.
So it has the potential to be a unified product. Talk a little bit about where it is today, or where you want the relationship to be between all of minor league baseball, all of major league baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. First of all, we really are joint at the hip, and should be. I'll use Cleveland as an example. The Indians executives are, in our facility all the time, watching young players like Francisco Lindor before he gets to Cleveland, or Bradley Zimmer or others. 15 players that were on that 2016 World Series team in Cleveland came through Akron within the previous 2 years. And
as a Cub fan, maybe they should have spent another year honing their skills.
That's
maybe
right.
Things would have been different.
That's right. You got yours, and the Indians.
Yeah, there you go. Right, exactly.
And so, they take a lot of pride in this. Is long are the days are just sending old chicken tenders and hot dogs down to the clubhouse after the game for the players. Nutrition's important. Player safety is really important now. We've extended our netting to protect both our fans and our players, and so we're thinking deeply about the experience, both from both lenses. Yeah, and so give us, Ken Babby, a perspective on where you think minor league baseball is, the relationship with MLB or where and minor league baseball 5 years from now. Yeah, so I think first and foremost, minor league baseball has and can be the proving ground to grow the next generation of fans at the major league level, both digitally, both in park, both brand-wise, and through everything that's going to happen in terms of esports, right? So a 10-year-old like my son Josh wakes up today, engages with his highlights on the At Bat app, attends minor league baseball games, seeing the next generation of players, attaches with a fan experience in the ballpark with mascots and excitement and promotions, and then asks me, when are we going to go to the ballpark? And he's not talking about going to the minor league ballpark. He wants to see the big kids play. Yeah. And so we're growing that evolution such that he appreciates and loves, from an experience standpoint, the beauty of minor league baseball. But certainly the family that has the ability to get to a major league ballpark 4 or 5 times a year, that's still a very, very special experience. And I assume that one of the beauties of the minor league baseball piece is that the content that's generated off the field, the legacy stuff, the mascot stuff, is really interesting, and it doesn't compete with what Major League Baseball puts out. I think that's right, and I think the content is everlasting, right? And so a fan, young or old, can engage with the game in so many different ways, socially, digitally, through a variety of our audio and video packages, both at the minor league and major league level, that you can have a really immersed, embedded experience with the game. Not just statistically, but actually in terms of all the fun that's going around the ballpark, too. You having fun? I tell people all the time, and I said this to my wife, we were having dinner here in Las Vegas over the weekend before the Fun and Winter meeting started. I said, I have the greatest job in the world. I wake up every day, I get to come to a ballpark, I work with and alongside, I think, the best guys in baseball, both in Akron and Jacksonville. Fortunate to be able to do some digital work for minor league baseball is just kind of a cherry on top, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. I love it. Good. So you're not going back to the newspaper business? No. I think the newspaper business is an exciting place to be and taught me a lot, and certainly the toughest management lessons when taking a business apart and reimagining it, which in many ways is what we're doing in our business here too. But no, I'm excited about the road ahead for sure. Great political answer, ladies and gentlemen, but he's staying here. Ken Babby, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Well, it's the beginning of July 4th week, so the beginning of Wimbledon. Tech giant SAP unveiled Call the Shots, an interactive online game placing fans in the shoes of Wimbledon champ Angelique Kerber the day before a big match, and allows fans to use SAP Tennis Analytics to get her match ready.
by using data to make decisions that'll help or maybe hurt her success on the court the next day. From helping her pick the most nutritious breakfast to selecting her training intensity levels. And Serena Williams finally gracing the cover of Wheaties. General Mills announcing the addition of a multi-time Grand Slam champion to its historic lineup of athletes. Said Williams, "I've dreamt of this since I was a young woman, and it's an honor to join the ranks of some of America's most decorated athletes. I hope my image on this iconic orange box will inspire the next generation of girls and athletes to dream big." The Wheaties announcement clearly comes in the about damn time category of brand initiatives. And the All England Club offers the latest tech, including high above court one. This year's fortnight sees many upgrades to the tournament's My Wimbledon app. Sports Pro and others have noted the biggest piece of technological infrastructure at the year's event is the new retractable roof that's been added at Court 1. Unveiled earlier this year, the retractable mechanism follows the game-changing addition made to center court 10 years ago and allows for extended play and protection from the unpredictable British weather. Also within the grounds, the All England Club expanded its free public Wi-Fi to Henman Hill, fans able to vote on which matches they would like to view on the big screen. Last year, the tournament registered 220 million views of match highlights, of which 14 million were generated using IBM's Watson A1 technology. We can't wait for college football, by the way. The University of Connecticut planning to move the majority of its athletic program from the AAC to the Big East. UConn has to pay a $10 million withdrawal fee and give 27 months' notice before the departure. The decision must first be approved by UConn's Board of Trustees and expected to breathe new life into UConn's men's basketball by playing against longstanding rivals like Providence, St. John's, and Syracuse. While UConn's women's basketball program yielded 11 national championships, including 4 in a row from 13 to 16, its men's teams only qualified for the NCAA men's basketball tournament once and suffered failing attendance. Any move unlikely to affect the AAC's 12-year media rights extension with ESPN, which kicks off in 2020 and reportedly worth $1 billion. College athletes in California are a step closer to being able to make money from the use of their names, likenesses, and image. State committee passed a bill that would fundamentally change how the NCAA conducts business. The Assembly's Arts, Entertainment, Sports, Tourism, and Internet Media Committee passed the Fair Pay-to-Play Act, which would take an effect January 1 in 4 years. But the LA Times said the bill would not allow schools to directly pay athletes, but athletes would be able to receive compensation from outside sources. Despite a letter from President Emmert last week urging the committee to postpone considering it and warning it of dire consequences if the athletes were compensated. Everybody says that it has its own agenda. North Carolina has a proposed similar bill. So now we have 2 major states mounting serious challenges to NCAA rules. How about the NBA? Free agency, 6 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday. The earliest news that broke, the announcement the Celtics inked Kemba Walker, $141 million. Almost immediately, New York Daily News and others reported Kyrie Irving agreed to a 4-year, $141 million deal with the Brooklyn Nets in a move that'll give the Nets a marquee name and elite talent. And they weren't done. Kevin Durant announced his signing for a reported 4-year, $164 million maximum contract. The NBA set the salary cap at $109.14 million, an increase of just more than $7 million from last season. Tax level will be $132 million, and the minimum salary 90% of the cap at about $98. That didn't stop teams from making some big moves, and it will not stop them in the future. NBA award show crowns Bradley Beal as the Community Assist Honor recipient. Received $25,000 for charity of his choice. And according to the Baltimore Sun, Beal served as principal for the day at Ron Brown College Prep High School, participating in a variety of school activities. And he and others took 10 students on a private tour of the National African American History and Culture Museum. Furthermore, Beal donated game tickets to various community groups and provided toys to the Salvation Army during the holiday season. Since the award's inception during 14-15 season, Beal and fellow teammates were past winners. John Wall made the Wizards the first team ever to receive the honor twice. Finally, the NBA and its Players Association launched the virtual sports betting product NBA Last 90. It's expected to launch sometime during this season with fixed odds that control the chances that any given bet will win. It means these games can appear even in jurisdictions where sports betting isn't legal, but other forms of gambling are permitted. The virtual sports betting features real teams and players. NBA Last 90 allows players to place bets on who will score first, who will win the game, or total points to be scored. Additionally, real highlights from recent NBA seasons will be used to stitching together a unique finish to each game. As esports and digital screens grab more attention from the casual bettor, the NBA looks to capitalize on growing virtual betting audience, which netted nearly $1 billion between April 2017 and May 2018. Finally, in mega event news, especially since we're at the back end of the Women's World Cup, the IOC announces Milan Cortina to be selected for the 2026 Games. President Thomas Bach notes that he looks forward to the outstanding and sustainable Olympic Winter Games in a traditional winter sports country. The Olympic Winter Games Milan Cortina 2026, featuring iconic venues and beautiful settings, combining the attractions of a modern European metropolis with a classic alpine environment. There's a press release. In other major Olympic news last week, the IOC, Coca-Cola Company, and a Chinese company announced the first ever joint top partnership agreement. The new agreement has a 12-year term through 2032 and extends Coca-Cola's association with the Olympic movement to a historic 104 years. The 2020 Tokyo Games generated record domestic sponsorship revenues of more than $3 billion, 3 times more than any previous summer games. IOC Coordination Commissioner John Coates said local sponsorship agreements were up to 62 companies for all 3 tiers of sponsorship arrangements, and it doesn't include the partnerships with Toyota, Bridgestone, and Panasonic and their contribution to the top program. Separate deals with the IOC. Revenues currently stand at $3.1 billion, as well as the 32 official partners and 15 Olympic official sponsors. Olympic sponsorship has become more global, more competitive, and more expensive, pushing even the likes of mighty Coca-Cola to look for a partner. Well, that's our show today. We'd like to thank Ken Babby for talking about minor league baseball's perspective around All-Star Week. We'd like to thank Dan Martin and Tanner Simpkins and Reed Weber for putting this together. We'd like to thank you for watching and listening, and join us next time when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.